Hey YouTube, what's going on? Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders here of the RCWR show, coming at you all with some breaking WWE news right now. You can't make this stuff up. It looks as though the former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins is injured once again. It's the same knee that had basically, gave him an injury in the first place going back 2015. It was right around December, if you all recall, at a house show where he was facing Kane and he was trying to go for a power bomb, if you will, from the top turnbuckle because he actually had picked up Kane and his knee pretty much had gave out. He was out for several months. He actually didn't come back until just about right in time for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And he's pretty much been back ever since. It looks like in the closing moments of this week's WWE Raw, going back to, what is it now? We're now into Wednesday. So I would imagine this past Monday was what, the 30th, guys? The 30th of January. Looks like as though during the last few closing moments, we had the segment go down where Seth Rollins came out to confront Triple H after Triple H issued a challenge to come on down to the ring. We then had proceeded to see Seth Rollins be attacked by Samoa Joe. And you didn't really think nothing much of it when you had saw it initially. You're like, wow, it's Samoa Joe. For a majority of people, hey, it's Samoa Joe. He's here. Awesome. This is fantastic. Hey, we didn't get him at the Royal Rumble. It's great that we're getting him now. This is a nice, pleasant surprise. So you literally, as far as I could tell, you didn't see anybody say, hey, Seth doesn't really look on point here. Hope he's okay. You didn't see that. You didn't hear any of that last night. So to basically go into Wednesday, as this news has broken about now, not looking pretty good, man. You go on WWE's website right now, they have an article up with regards to this. It's a rather short article, too. I'll read it to you real quick. Seth Rollins' right knee was re-injured during Samoa Joe's ambush at the conclusion of Monday's WWE RAW. WWE.com can now confirm the attack occurred as Rollins was heading to the ring to finally confront Triple H, who cost the Architect who cost, forgive me guys, I don't have my glasses, who cost the Architect a WWE Universal Championship opportunity back in August. So you see Seth Rollins, he put out a tweet and it shows a picture of his knee. Looks like it has some type of monitoring wire setup that's around that knee, and he's got a sky blue padding wrapped around it, and he says, wish I could say it was just a bad dream. And received a lot of retweets, and as you would imagine, nothing but a lot of positive energy is coming his way right now. When it's all said and done, whether we like these men and women that is on our televisions every single week, we all got to give it up to the fact that no matter what, they're going in that ring, they're doing what they can, all in the good name of entertaining us, the fans. They're trying to make us forget about our time. As far as, if something bad is going down in our personal lives, it's just nice to escape reality in a nutshell and be able to be entertained, let loose for a couple of hours. So this is never what you want to hear with regards to something like this. Now, a lot of people are under the impression that, this has to be some type of a storyline. Surely this is a con. Some of my fellow colleagues, they're saying, based on the sources that they've gathered up respectfully so far, and they're still doing a little bit of investigating of their own, they're saying that this is a legit injury. And the one thing that I really don't think is stressed enough that we as a wrestling community really need to home in on is when Seth Rollins was attacked by Samoa Joe. Just go back and play the footage if you don't believe me. Samoa Joe never did anything whatsoever to Seth Rollins' knees. He never did do a direct attack to Seth Rollins' knees. So I see the stories that's going around right now basically saying, Samoa Joe, see, See, his long track record of being an unsafe worker, it's now followed him into the WWE, and now look who his real first victim is. It's Seth Rollins. Please don't think like that. Do not think like that. I'm telling you, and I would implore you, I would encourage you all, go back, check out Monday's WWE Raw, look at it in its entirety, all together. Those last few moments of that segment with Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, look at that, and you'll see Samoa Joe never goes for Seth Rollins' knees whatsoever. Probably the only thing that goes down is when Samoa Joe, all his attacks was basically to the upper body. And then when he gets him in the ring, he does that trademark submission chokehold, and that's pretty much it. Now, some people kind of feel as though, well, maybe when Samoa Joe had wrapped that submission maneuver around Seth Rollins, if you look at Seth's knee, that's what a lot of people are pointing out right now. They're saying that the way his knee was when he was in that hold, that maybe that's where it had triggered. But you've got other reports that are saying Seth knee was actually injured, like right as he was getting ready to come out to confront Triple H. You have a third theory that's floating around, and I really don't think WWE would extend it to this point, but you have some reports that's basically saying Seth Rollins actually had suffered this knee injury maybe a few days prior or whatever. That's why he wasn't involved in the Royal Rumble. That's thus explained. But I'm not buying any of that, because if the guy was injured even way back then, you would have never had him do all that stuff, do the stuff at NXT TakeOver and all that. So if you were to ask me for my 2 cents, again, just my 2 cents from a distance, I believe this injury legitimately did go down on Monday's WWE Raw. And Seth Rollins, as he was making his way to the ring, he kind of seemed a little bit okay. I mean, now that I kind of play it back in my head, he did kind of come off as though he seemed a little... there wasn't a usual pep in his step. I would admit that, but nothing to the point that, like, hey, Seth is injured. What the hell? So I'm thinking either it occurred on his way to face Triple H, or it went down right when he had the physical altercation with Samoa Joe. Maybe that submission move that Samoa Joe locked on him, maybe that was it. Who knows? But when it's all said and done, this guy is injured right now, and that's where we stand right now. This news had broke out a couple of hours ago. Sadly, I was actually at work, and I just got in not too long ago, and it was my first time checking my Twitter feed, like really all day, just looking up news, and I saw that had went down. And I know there's probably a good group of you guys that usually don't want to wait in between shows to find out my thoughts on particular topics. This definitely being a pretty hot one right now. But let me take it a step further for a few seconds, if you guys will just indulge me for a little bit. Let's just assume this injury is legit. What does that mean for the WrestleMania picture altogether? What does this mean for a potential Triple H matchup? Or at this point, do you still even go in a WrestleMania direction involving Triple H? I think, honestly, what makes a lot of sense, if Seth Rollins is injured, I could just see WWE writers scrounging around, and I think the best remedy that you can do right now is slide Samoa Joe into a program with Roman Reigns. I think that is something that the fans would have no problem in investing into, given the simple fact Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, they had spent a decent amount of months teaming up together on Raw. It kind of seemed as though they finally had, it seemed as though they had finally saw eye to eye. They finally had let bygones be bygones, even though we never officially got that segment, whether it was in the ring or it was backstage. We never did officially see that segment where they're like, hey, so are we cool again? Bygones are bygones. We never did really properly get that. But if I'm a writer and I'm scrounging around trying to hustle, figure out, what you could do, it makes a lot of sense to have Roman Reigns slide on in there. And I know a lot of people kind of look at that and, just really stop and forget all the hating of Roman Reigns for a minute. Let's put to the side how many of you all you just don't like that guy. And when you get probed, you're asked, why do you not like that guy? You may kind of feel as though that guy's like being shoved down your throat too much. Okay, maybe he gets a little bit of camera time. Maybe his positioning in the company, you're not really feeling. But the one thing that you cannot deny about Roman Reigns, when he is involved in his matches, when it comes to pay-per-view time, Roman Reigns always delivers. Even on an episode of WWE RAW, Roman Reigns always delivers a good quality matchup. So for me personally, I honestly just trying to make sense out of what you have right now on the table. I would totally be fine with that. If you ask me straight up, do you need a Triple H at WrestleMania? No. I at this point, if you weren't going to go in the direction of Seth Rollins, Triple H, which the way that they told the story, connecting the dots all these months and really bringing it home these past 2 to 3 weeks, and now there's no Seth Rollins, do you really need a Triple H at WrestleMania? No, you really do not, boys and girls. You really do not need a Triple H. Now, if I'm thinking from a business standpoint and I'm trying to get as many eyes on the product as humanly possible, and I'm trying to maximize on revenue for WrestleMania because it's like the biggest draw of the whole year, would I go in that direction with Triple H just from a monetary standpoint? Yes. But as far as does he need to be on the card? Does Triple H honestly need to be on the card? No. But if I'm trying to make some serious revenue, then yes, I'm going to put Triple H on the card. Now, I see a lot of ideas floating around about, well, maybe Triple H could get Finn Balor. Maybe that's the direction that could happen. Go with Finn Balor. You would have to make a lot of sense out of a story arc that would even justify Finn Balor going in there. And I mean, quite honestly, the only story arc that I personally see with Finn Balor, first off, if I'm not mistaken, Finn Balor is either at 100% or he is just about damn near close to it. So if you're going to bring him back into the equation, remember the last time we saw Finn Balor, he had to cough up that Universal Championship because he had suffered an injury, and he's been out ever since. So the easier story arc, and just think about it, last time we saw Finn Balor, he didn't have any run-ins with the Authority. There was no spilled milk with Stephanie McMahon or with Triple H. To the contrary. So you would really be pulling teeth, literally, just to try to figure out how to get some type of a program going with Triple H and Finn Balor. It makes a lot of sense for Finn Balor to come back and say, hey, I never got my shot for the Universal title. What's up with that? He's due a rematch. He is due a rematch. So Finn Balor by default would be able to bypass so many loopholes. Now, unless some type of a scenario occurs where Stephanie McMahon, Triple H storyline wise, they're trying to deny Finn Balor a shot at Kevin Owens for the title, then that's where it kind of gets a little bit tricky right there. I think the writers would just be just pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to set that up. The most simplistic story arc you can do is just Finn Balor, he never was defeated for his Universal title. That is the most simplistic story that you have, okay? Not to mention, you look at the long history that Finn Balor and Samoa Joe have. Even if you didn't want to go in the Roman Reigns Samoa Joe matchup, you could easily go with a story arc where if the WWE higher up management are totally sold on a Roman Reigns possibly facing Undertaker at WrestleMania, I mean, that's the direction it seems like it's going to be going in this year. And you want to lock Roman Reigns in for that, that's a different topic for another time. I think I told you guys on the podcast this week how I feel about that matchup. But just put all the discussion to the side. Let's just say that's a lock. Then it makes a lot of sense for Finn Balor to slide in there and maybe work some type of a program with Samoa Joe. And I think the simplistic way that you can do that is you can have Finn Balor surprise folks. He comes out, talks about how, he never was defeated for the Universal title. He had to relinquish the title. And as a result of that, he feels he's due the title shot. And then at the same time, you could also have Finn Balor say, hey, and on a personal note, I want to wish Seth Rollins a speedy recovery. And it would make perfect sense for Finn Balor to say that, because think about it. Storyline wise, the way it was portrayed to us, Seth Rollins pretty much injured inadvertently, but he injured Finn Balor. And Finn Balor, less than 24 hours later, had to cough up the belt. So some people would kind of look at this as poetic justice, so to speak, but it would definitely make a lot of sense for Finn Balor to come out, say something to that effect. And then, of course, you can have him mingle with Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and all that, right? Simple. Have him go in a backstage segment. Finn Balor's minding his own business. Boom. He walks into Samoa Joe. They do a stare down at each other. And maybe Samoa Joe could say to Finn, watch your back, or some shit like that. But you could kind of do that in a way where Jericho, Kevin Owens, they definitely pick up on that, and then they're reminded about the Finn Balor, Samoa Joe history that they've had, and then maybe they kind of stir the pot up a little bit. So basically, in a nutshell, if you want to maybe go in the direction of Finn Balor and Samoa Joe at WrestleMania, I would totally be down for that. But then you got to figure out, what are you going to do with Kevin Owens and that WWE Universal title? Are you maybe going to let Kevin Owens retain the title just long enough for him to get to the first Raw pay-per-view after WrestleMania, and then you have him lose the strap then? And a lot of reports are floating around right now that Kevin Owens isn't really drawing that well. It's not really hitting a big of enough home run that WWE was expecting, and they really have just been wanting to take that title off of him when the timing is right. And the only reason why he continues to be the WWE Universal Champion right now is because a lot of personnel see that, hey, at least by pairing him up with Jericho, he's out there, his name's out there, merchandise is kind of selling a little bit. Jericho is breathing life into Kevin Owens' current title run, but that's only going to last but so long, given the fact that Jericho, even though he renegotiated a new deal with the WWE, he's going to be rolling out once again because he's got a new Fozzy album. He's going to be touring, all that jazz. So there's a couple of different angles that you could go. And I know a lot of you have your own theories, you have your own ideas, which is good. But if you were to just ask me for my 2 cents from a distance, do you really need a Triple H at WrestleMania? No, you do not. Do you need him to wrestle? You do not. If you're looking to make serious money, you're trying to make as much money as possible, then yes, you're probably going to put him on the card. But you really do not need him to be on there wrestling. You really don't. But if you want to make a good amount of money, you go ahead, you do it. So Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, or maybe Samoa Joe, Finn Balor. I really hope that at this point, the Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, that kind of balances out. A lot of history, a lot of great storytelling that you could bring up, not to mention brand awareness. You could also put the spotlight back on NXT. For fans that's not familiar with the Samoa Joe, Finn Balor rivalry, we talk about a great way to revisit it and basically introduce it to the main flagship show audience. I totally would be fine for that. When those guys were locking it up, they were tearing the house down in NXT. So I totally would be fine for that. But I got to tell you, man, we've had our run-ins respectfully with Seth Rollins throughout social media. I've been very critical of Seth Rollins early in his career. I know we definitely came under his radar when I had some choice words to say about some stuff that was going on in his personal life, revolving around who he was dating. I'm sure you all remember that one. And he blocked us on Twitter, and I didn't take it personal. It was just like, hey, I'm just offering my advice. It's just my 2 cents from a distance. You don't have to agree. It's okay. But, I've always tried to take the higher road. And I tell you this much, and I sincerely mean this with all of my heart. I have really come to appreciate the work of Seth Rollins since he came back. And I was just kind of reminded, like, wow, yeah, it really wasn't quite the same when he was gone the first go around. So I'm really hoping that this is a minor injury, that maybe he just has to chill for a couple of weeks. Maybe you could have him do some stuff via satellite, whatnot, just to kind of continue to keep his name out there. Maybe you could do some little video promo packages or whatever, just to keep the name out there, at least so they could try to figure out what's going on with him. But if it's a case where he needs to rest up for a couple of weeks, whatever needs to happen. But I really hope the injury isn't as severe. And if he does have to miss any type of time whatsoever, I really hope that, if I could offer any type of advice to Seth Rollins, it would be this. And I mean this in the most respectful way. You look at a guy like Kevin Owens, and not Kevin Owens, forgive me, guys. You look at a guy like Kevin Nash, and you think about the long history that he has had, respectfully, with needing knee surgeries and all that. My advice to Seth would be, if it is severe, do what you need to do, get that bad boy looked into, get it repaired, and do not rush the recovery/rehab process. If they tell you, look, you got to be out for at least 6 months, okay, don't try to see if you can come back in 3. Take the full 6 months. Just to add more insult to injury, come back in 8 months. Get your joint not only at 100, get it up to 120%. Try to get it up to 150%. And also, if it's even possible, without going into the other knee, see what's going on with that other knee. Make sure that other knee is on point. Make sure there's no wear and tear happening in that one. I would like to believe that in today's day and age, with our technology, we are now at a point where, without cutting you open, your knees, that is, we should be able to get some really good, thorough MRIs done and the whole 9 yards to see, hey, I think we might need to go up in that one as well. But that's the advice I would really give to Seth Rollins right now. Take your time, just do it right. Come back when you're 150%, man. That's it. Nothing but the best of luck to you. And I wish I could tell you guys this is a story arc, but when you go back, you watch Raw, the guy was not attacked. His knees were not at any point a direct attack from Samoa Joe or an inadvertent attack from Samoa Joe, right? So it is what it is. I'm sure that before this weekend comes about, we're going to have a lot more news about that. And when we get that news, I'll definitely fire it up here on YouTube. I'll share that news with you guys. And if you appreciated what I did for you guys, keep the conversation going. I see a decent amount of people in the chat. Sadly, I do not know how to see if what you all are saying in the chat can automatically go to the comment section down below. But just to kind of put the spotlight on you guys before I close it out, I do want to give you guys a nod and see and read what you all respectfully had to say. So let's take this opportunity to give you guys a proper nod right now. We've got Brendan over at Trickster316. He's saying, I was hoping this was a work and part of the storyline, but it's not sounding good. We have a few people saying it's not Samoa Joe's fault. Fernando, if this is not a work, what do you think are the Mania plans for Joe and Triple H? And we pretty much had already dived into that. See, Balor versus Joe. Yeah, we covered that. I'm so there right now. I don't think, again, for the record, I really don't think you need a Triple H on the WrestleMania card. I personally feel you do not need him wrestling on the WrestleMania card. If you want to just put him on there just to make money, go ahead. Now, I can talk about that for just a couple of minutes without going overkill. If you were to have Triple H wrestle, who would you have him face? I mean, I'm just thinking about the current landscape right now. My God. I'm not sure, guys. I mean, this is like the first time in a long time that I'm stumped because, Triple H is usually that one match a year type of guy. So, like, who would you slide in there? Under the circumstances, you can't really give him Finn Balor. You just can't. It would be a disservice to Samoa Joe. You put all that time and that energy, you got to capitalize when it's all said and done on that impact that he made. Now, if you don't want to bring back Finn Balor just yet, you want to maybe save him for the night after WrestleMania, because the most important Raw of all Raws all year long is the first Raw after WrestleMania, then you could bring Finn Balor back then. Now, I would be inclined to go in a direction of Triple H, Samoa Joe under the right storytelling. And Samoa Joe, the way that he was built up in NXT, he came off as one of those guys. He doesn't care. If y'all were best friends, it don't mean a damn thing to him. Whatever he has to do to get himself to the top, that's what he's going to do. And anybody that watched his work at NXT, you know exactly what I'm talking about storyline wise. So I could see a scenario playing out where like Triple H thinks that, hey, I got me another Kevin Owens on my hands, only this isn't some big whiny, cry, little baby or whatever like that. And, maybe we could see some type of, keep it simple. You can have some type of a situation come about backstage where Samoa Joe's like, hey, I did what you asked me to do. You got me, right? And like Triple H says, oh, yeah. Don't worry. I got you. Yeah, no problem. And Samoa Joe can be like, well, when you going to take care of me or something to that effect. And maybe you could kind of have Triple H kind of like, give Samoa Joe a runaround on maybe like 2 occasions or something like that. And then Samoa Joe is just like, bump this. This guy ain't coming through. Chokes him out in the middle of a ring. You got what? At this point, 60, maybe 59 days left until WrestleMania. So what's that, guys? You basically got like 2 months, maybe a week, 2 months, maybe 2 months, 2 weeks. So you could kind of pull off the story arc. If you do it, you put it into effect this coming Monday, you have just enough time to pull the trigger on that, have Triple H sell out being choked out by Samoa Joe, and then, maybe have him come back a couple of weeks later, try to get the beat down on Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe tries to escape him, and then boom, there's your Mania match right there. But I think at this point, you got to put a couple of reserves for that night after WrestleMania Raw. So I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, Finn Balor. But at this point, if I'm the WWE, I'm kind of going, would I like to see Finn Balor? Right now, I'd love to see him. But then it's kind of like, okay, you're going to take away from that Raw after WrestleMania, where like usually, and we've been getting it the past few years now, somebody we ain't seen in a while, they come back. So you got to put something on the back burner. So you always got to kind of have that in the back of your mind if you've been picking up the pattern that they've been doing for the past couple of years now. So that's what I would do with Triple H. See some more comments we got in here. Trickster, I would have Joe and Triple H brag, and then Foley says, here's your opponent for Fastlane, brings out Finn Balor. Right, exactly. You're talking about Fastlane's after WrestleMania. So yeah, that would be freaking perfect, quite honestly. Yeah, I see a lot of people are saying Joe, Kevin Owens maybe at Fastlane. I could kind of see that, but then once again, you kind of got to tie up those loose ends. Uh, with Kevin Owens. Okay, so is Kevin Owens now being pushed to the side? You got to have Kevin Owens go to Triple H and find out what the heck is going on. Talk to the authority. Find out what's going on, because remember, Triple H pretty much was like, Kevin Owens, you my man now. So you got to figure out a way to like clean that up just a little bit. Does Kevin Owens maybe they pull a page out of NXT? Anybody remember how Finn Balor just like mercifully got his ass whooped by Samoa Joe, and the match pretty much ended in a no contest, and Joe had got the NXT title that way? So like Kevin Owens plays this game of chicken where he's trying to avoid Samoa Joe, but like Mick Foley, like he insists that this match go down. Okay, well, I would imagine since Kevin Owens is technically an authority guy, he's going to run to Stephanie McMahon and try to see if he can get some help from Steph. So now you're going to have conflict with Steph and Mick Foley. How's that match exactly going to play about? Those are all the elements that you guys got to think about. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the ideas are good, but the writers really got to figure out a way how to make all that even possible, because you know how we are as fans. If it don't make sense to us, and the one thing we all love a great deal when it comes to our wrestling is great storyline continuity, then we're going to be crapping all over it. So they got to connect all the dots to make sure we don't come in there going, what the hell? So, but I kind of see where you guys are going. I like where you guys are going with that. See, other than that, bear with me a second here, guys. Other than that, I don't know what H means, but we got to remove that. Last one, Richard. How about capitalizing on Seth's injury by having Roman Reigns coming out to defend? Yeah, we Richard, you probably just now came in. Welcome, but yeah, we pretty much had already covered that at the very beginning. But I tell you what, man, you guys are like, you and me, we're on the same brain wave right now, which is awesome. But that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I definitely want to continue to hear you all's thoughts about the news to Seth Rollins being injured, and continue to share your ideas on what you would like to see happen on the road to WrestleMania. Now that officially we have Samoa Joe in the picture and all that. So post your comments down below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR Show. And if you like what I did here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out. You can always catch me live. For those of you that like podcasts, you can always catch me live after SmackDown goes off the air. So that's Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. Always covering the very latest in the talk of wrestling, pop culture news, and beyond. If it's got you talking, I'm talking about it. So make sure you check it out, man. And like I said, stay connected on here. Follow me throughout social media, as I do love interacting with you guys. And depending on the topic, if it's, pretty popular, it's something I want to speak passionately about, I'll definitely speak that. So once again, thank you guys so much. And I will see you guys next go around. Everybody be safe and be kind to one another. Take care.